So I'm Kylie Harker. I am the CEO at SQiBLE. We are new to the Jonas family, I guess, from about April 2025. So SQiBLE's origin story is that we are a merge of two companies, actually. One that I founded that was CRM software based with a bunch of sales tools that added onto it. So I founded that. The name of that one was SQiBLE, and the other founder was Ty Osborne from Brainstorm IT. His company did ERP and adjacent software for supply chain, essentially. We were introduced by Catalyst Advisory, who we were both independently working with to help, scale our businesses, etc. We were introduced with the idea that we could do greater things together rather than separately. And I guess longer term, there was the idea that we would be acquired at some point, which certainly happened faster than we had anticipated. We discovered Jonas via Catalyst Advisory, again, the board that we were working with. When we started kind of, just talking to the future, I guess, around acquisition, this was just something that they introduced us to, the concept of, anyway. We decided to sell to Jonas primarily because of the autonomy that they promised us. As a founder, it's your baby, that business that you've grown, and it's potentially a tricky transition to move from being your own boss and being in charge of all the decisions that you're making. So that continuity of being able to do that still, or the promise of it, was certainly very much of interest to both Ty and I. I think on that as well, just the idea of maintaining the team that we had and not feeling like we would be acquired, as you hear with some venture capitalist stories, and be split up and be told what to do. So that was certainly one reason. Another reason that we chose Jonas was the buy and hold philosophy that they have. That really appealed to us, again, just for continuity, for the idea that Ty and I thought bringing our businesses together to form SQiBLE was about enabling greater things. So to be able to see that vision out was quite important to both of us. I think also on reflection, depending on where you are in your career and the stage of life that you're in, for me, I'm a little bit older than Ty, so the idea of being able to get my business to where I thought I could get it just had a great sense of legacy, I think, for me. Perhaps for Ty, who, as I said, is a little bit younger than me, it was about looking at where could he actually take his career to. There's obviously much bigger opportunities in a larger business, and that was also really important to both of us in terms of what we could offer our team. When you're a small business, there's only so far that you can take your team, and this felt like there was going to be a lot greater opportunities within a bigger business. In part, we did have another suitor. What was different about Jonas was their communication was very consistent throughout the process. The timelines, whilst they did, move a little bit, that was communicated, the reasons why, etc. It just drove confidence that they knew what they were doing, that they cared about us and our decision making as well. That was certainly part of the reasoning behind selling to Jonas. I've seen the core values in action in terms of what we were told during due diligence has actually been the case. We've definitely still felt quite autonomous in terms of day-to-day decision making. We've certainly been guided with best practices, which, that's part of the reason for kind of jumping on board in the first place. The other thing I would say is that the communication before we were purchased, so during due diligence, and post that, has been really consistent. During due diligence, we were certainly some companies that were already part of the Jonas that had just recently been acquired. We were introduced to them to talk to and get their experience, which was really important. It helped answer a bunch of questions that you don't potentially feel like you can ask the powers that be. And then that same communication has happened since then. So the other business unit leaders are very supportive. You can reach out to anybody. They will definitely try and help you. I know personally, I've found that some of the monthly and quarterly reporting requirements are fairly intense and a little bit onerous, but there's been a lot of support and learning around that. One other thing that I think was really valuable to me was within a couple of months of being acquired, the timing was such that I got to go to JSA, which was a conference for the senior leaders. That kind of gave me a bit of a boot camp, I guess, on all of the Jonas best practices and ratios. And I also was lucky enough to go to Canada to the Grows conference, which again felt like a boot camp, showed the real breadth and power, I guess, of being a part of a much larger organisation. My experience post-acquisition has been that it's quite organised. They've obviously done this one or two times. It's still been quite a lot of work. I mean, we obviously were a newly merged company, so we were still trying to sort out our own systems and bringing those together, and then having to integrate with Jonas. They definitely have got steps and the people to support you to do that. I'm glad to see the back of it though. It does take a little bit longer than perhaps you first anticipate. The other reflection I would have of post-acquisition is I was trepidatious of having a boss, I guess. I hadn't had a boss for 15 plus years. Yeah, it's been really great. Steve Hoy is my group leader. He's patient. He is very smart. He's been a really good, backup for questions and anything that I've needed around best practices, and trying to gently bring me on board to all the spreadsheets. I think the advice that I would give owners looking to sell their business is to get your back of house in order. Make sure that you've got your processes, your standard operating procedures, get all of that stuff ducks in a row. I think as small business owners, we tend to potentially, not pay attention to the details in finance and all of that kind of stuff. I would get all of that 100% in order. It will make the transition far more easy, just from an integration perspective into Jonas, but also just for your own headspace to not be having to worry about all of that stuff day to day, and be able to easily package it up and just hand it over to Jonas.